Passt? Okay.
Okay. So first of all, thanks for your time.
Sure.
I have a few questions. It's normally into the situation.
Okay.
So let's start about here. What are your musical roots? How did you came into music? Did your parents bought you an instrument, or what was the reason to start as a musician?
Well, I guess I owe it to just the hardcore DIY community that I grew up in. So like when I was 13 or 14, you know, I went to my first punk rock show, hardcore show, and the kids that I hung around with, we all kind of like picked up instruments, and we all just figured out how to learn to play like 3-chord punk in a way. And by the time I was 16, I'd pretty much learned how to play all instruments in that kind of way, you know, picking up the bass, picking up the guitar, picking up the drums, like, you know, really ragged, juvenile, but most importantly, it was that community raised this kind of DIY culture. So it's like everyone that was hardcore in that scene, in that time, in my area, wanted to be productive, wanted to be part of this community. Whether you're like doing a fanzine and like interviewing bands, whether you're playing music yourself, whether you're, you know, like figuring out how to put out the record itself. You know, it was very, it was a good environment for me to learn and embrace that kind of like, you know, that ethos. So, you know, I picked up music that way, in that style, started playing music in high school, putting on shows. When I went to college, I got into more serious, more sophisticated hardcore bands. You know, started putting out records, touring a bit, toured like Asia, toured America, eventually touring Europe. And then like after I left college, I kind of departed from the hardcore scene, really focused on my label, on DIMAC. And by 2005, I started actually learning how to write and produce electronic music. So 2005 was my first remix, which was a block party remix I did called Helicopter with a partner of mine, Blake, who we started a group called Weird Science. And we did that for a couple of years. Then we you know, split up. I started producing on my own. You know, for 2010, I have an album coming out next year, my first debut album coming out. And you know, I have a couple singles under my belt, remixes, tons of remixes.
So then you're DJing too. How do you came to DJing, and what's important for a good DJ?
I came into DJing when I left Santa Barbara, where I was going to school. I moved to Los Angeles, and I was really like I said, I was really focusing on my label at the time. So I was throwing these parties in Los Angeles, based around the label, these DIMAC parties, and the DIMAC parties would really host bands to come and DJ. Not really DJs, because in like 2003, 2004, the DJ culture was so separate from the bands. Like Block Party, Interpol, the Yeah-Yeahs, Modest Mouse, like those bands, they weren't mingling with, like, I guess at the time, you know, 2003, I mean, I didn't even know a single DJ. You know, I guess like the Tiestos or whatever. Like there was no like electro scene or anything like that. So so we would throw all these parties and we play like indie rock and hip hop and all that kind of stuff. And then like, you know, that's really where I started DJing in like a really open-minded environment, because I didn't even know how to DJ then. we were just playing records that we were buying at the store, like a Jay-Z record, or like then we play Block Party record, and then like Carlos from Interpol would come and play, and he'd play like metal, so it was just like that kind of environment. A few years passed, and 2005 I started figuring out how to produce remixes, and I started finally playing outside of Los Angeles, and I started taking DJing more seriously, and the rest is history.
So yeah, like you said, you're not only DJing and remixing, you're producing many artists too.
Yeah, well, I mean, for music for other artists. Well, I just started this year producing for other artists. I did one track for Lil Jon's album that just came out. I just signed a publishing deal, so I'm working with artists through my deal as well. So, I have this track. I mean, I shouldn't even say what's not even out yet, but there's some other tracks out there that are interesting that I'm working with. So.
Can you tell us overall what is the work of a producer?
There's so many different kinds of a producer. Like kind of production I do, electronic dance production. It's very different than the kind of production in a live room with a band. When I was in a band, it was you have an engineer, you have a producer. The producers are generally the band, in the situations that I was in. In the case of this kind of production, it's basically a computer, and you don't really need like all these people around. It's an isolated kind of situation. So my studio's in my house. I just made one room into the environment that makes it the most comfortable for me to work in, and it's been working great. So I'm happy to do it there. I don't like to do it on the road. I like to just come home and churn out the tracks that way.
Do you work together with the artists in your studio, or?
Sometimes. For my album coming up, I have a lot of features, a lot of vocalists, and it's easier to do that. So I've had Kid Cudi in the studio, with will.i.am, his studio. He has a couple different studios in LA, so I usually go to him. With LMFAO, his studio is actually just down the street from me. He lives right around the corner. I had Chitty Bang and Lil Jon and Sky Ferreira, Black Star, Alyssa Palmer, Rivers Cuomo from Weezer. I'm doing a track with him as well. He has a studio in Santa Monica, so it's easy to go back and forth. And then I did 2 tracks with Travis Barker, and his studio is actually also very close to my house in LA. So I'm lucky that I'm central. Like Los Angeles seems to be a hub. If people don't live there, people just end up there because there's so much activity going on. So, I use my studio a lot vocally, recording artists vocally there, but it's kind of like, it's probably 65% there, and the rest is in their own studios.
So like you mentioned it before, you have your own label too, Tini. What traits or characters should an artist have to be interesting for you on your label? Well,
my label has been around for, next year will be 15 years. We've released, I think like over 180 records. So it's gone through an evolution. We've released all kinds of different artists in different genres, from like rock and roll to punk to hardcore to emo to indie to the British invasion sound to like dance music now. So it's just it's always different. At the end of the day, it's the music. I remember when I got Block Party's first 7-inch, 2003, when they sent that to me, of She's Hearing Voices. and I like listened to the 7-inch. It's crazy, you know, when you get letters in the mail and you got records. Instead of getting MP3s, I got physical, you know, like records. It was amazing back then, and writing the letters back to the bands and stuff. But I remember when I got that, and the music was just amazing. And then I saw like, you know, pictures of the band. I thought they were like totally cool looking guys, just interesting, unique. The same thing when I heard the gossip. I was like, female singer with a guitarist, no bassist, and a drummer, and it's that powerful, you know. Or Battles. I put out Battles is like an instrumental group from New York. It just sounds like a 20-piece orchestra. Or like, you know, like with the Bloody Beetroots, when back in 2007 when I heard them, I just thought I'd never heard anything so loud before that was produced with such loudness, and composition was amazing. You know, like the composing element of that group is phenomenal. The way Bob Riffo writes is no one like him. He's a virtuoso, musical virtuoso. Mastercraft, there's nothing like that. You know, like it's just like certain things that stand out. They have like, you know, when it comes to you, it's almost like a new idea you never even thought about. So it can be anything, you know. And if you just find yourself, it's like all about, you know, finding your own originality and then being able to produce that.
So is it only the music important, or do you think also like how could I sell this? Or is also the image of the band important? And do you think about, okay, the music is great, but maybe they don't bring us any money or something? So
I've released tons of bands that did not make me any money, and I supported them forever. Because I mean, it's running the label. It's like, of course, it's a business. Like if I didn't look at it like a business, I wouldn't have a label anymore. But the same token, I don't make any money from Denmark. You know, for 14 years, I've never taken a salary. It's an art. It's like my baby. You know, in a way, it's like I'm. You know, it's not necessarily about what you want. You want the records to sell, of course, but you want to support music that you love. And sometimes that kind of music is not supported by the general population. Actually, most of the time, it's not. So, you know, you're already like walking an uphill battle, but at the same time, it's like you want to, you know, produce and be part of a culture that's supportive of that kind of music or that kind of lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. I think you received some DJ awards too. Are they important for you?
I guess. I mean, it's nice to hear that people. Yeah, of course, it's important. It's great to know. It's not. I don't like live for them or anything. You know. Sometimes it's just like a flash in the pan as well. Like comes and goes. You know. And it doesn't make or break a career. You know. It's just like if you're in a karate competition and you somehow beat the guy and you get the like the little thing. It like really doesn't mean anything, you know. At the end of the day, it's like, oh, that's cool, but it's not like I'm the greatest. Like, who really cares? Like, except for your mom or something, you know. So I guess it's cool for the moment, you know, but I'd rather see like one of my artists headlining a show and selling that out. That's way more. That means so much more to me than like winning some award by like a group of people that maybe like decided, okay, we'll just pick this guy now, change it up.
Cool. So Yeah, thanks for the interview. I have one last question. Can you remember your first ever live gig? You have
First ever live gig, yes, I do. Well, my first ever DJ gig was, I think probably 2002, and I didn't really have any friends in Los Angeles at the time. With the exception to one guy. He was a bartender at a bar called 3 Clubs in Hollywood. It's on the corner of Santa Monica and Vine. And like he knows about my record collection. I have, at the time I had about like 15,000 records. But they were primarily alternative, post-punk, hardcore, punk, 80s, not dance music, and not really hip hop. So all the music that I had in my collection, you couldn't really DJ. But he knows that like I have this collection. I actually have a turntable. I don't even call it, I call it a record player. I don't even care, I didn't even know about the DJ. And he's like, hey man, I want you to come in next week, I want you to DJ at my bar. And I'm like, DJ? Like, you really want me to actually DJ? And I was like, I don't even know how to DJ. Like, it's like, I'll show you. Like, in 2 minutes, you'll learn. It's so easy. You could sit there in a chair and you could just play records. It's like, because I used to do a radio show. So in my radio show, I would actually play the records and I'd play like these rare 7-inches from these great labels, the hardcore labels. And I would always like try to like pick like this stuff that wasn't like the really popular hardcore songs that people were playing at the time. So I was like, all right, fine, this sounds great. And he's like, you're not gonna get paid or anything. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do it. So I go there and I bring like all my 7-inches, I bring a couple 12-inches, and I'm just playing like punk and like I'm playing like post-punk stuff like Teenage Jesus and the Jerks and Mars and like Contortions, that kind of stuff, like that New York no wave stuff. And I was playing like Portraits of the Past and Tragedy and Born Against. And then I was playing some straight edge hardcore like Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today. And I was playing like Minor Threat, and I played like Fugazi. I was just playing like across the board. And the only people in the bar were people just sitting there drinking beers, and they're just like, I don't really understand what's going on. This music's like fucking screaming over here, and like this like, and then it's like the Germs, and then it's like fucking Econopriced, it's just like all kinds of shit. But I was just loving it. I was like, fuck, this is awesome. There's like 10 people sitting at the bar, just kind of like peeling over, like going, should I just leave? Looking at me like, fuck, should I leave? Like this is, and then my friend, the bartender, was like, this is awesome. Like, he just didn't care, and he gave me my first DJ gig. And he got me excited to play music in front of people, and that was really where the passion came from. I was just like, I want to do this again. And then like he told me, he's like, next time don't play the screaming stuff so much. You can play like the punk and no wave stuff, sure, play that stuff. But I was like, okay, that's cool. I'll work on it. And that was my first gig. Without him, I definitely wouldn't be a DJ, because I had no interest, and it wasn't like one DJ. It was like I went to a DJ show. I wasn't going to DJ shows. 2003. I didn't even know where to go. So that stuff was very separate at the time. Now it's all like coming together because music's like accessible and anyone can get any kind of music nowadays. So much different than what was 10 years ago.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.